Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your host, Jonny Lipsham.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the end of May episode of Sunday Night Live with me, Jonny Lipsham, over at jonnylipshamstudios.co.uk, right here in the southeast of Edinburgh, the capital of the universe, and so on and so forth ad infinitum. I hope you guys are all having, in the United States, are having a fantastic Memorial holiday weekend. I know Memorial Day is actually tomorrow, but I know it's a 3-day weekend for you guys. It's also a 3-day weekend for me. We have a bank holiday here in Scotland, so no work for me tomorrow. Yay! Yes. I hope everyone's had a good week. We're packing. So that's keeping us busy. We're packing ready for the move. That's keeping us very, very busy. Keeping me out of trouble. Keeping me out of mischief. But yeah. So that's basically our story, really, is that we're still packing for getting ready to move. We should be moving in about 4 or 5 weeks' time, we think. That's kind of our guess. We don't have an exact completion date yet, but we're told it's like 90% finished. And that being the case, it's not going to be very long before we're ready to move in. So we were told that the new kitchen arrived this week. So they're installing that. So that's kind of, yeah, we're getting close to being able to move. The interesting thing is I'll be in a room almost the same size as this one for my studio. It's going to be a little bit narrower, like maybe about 5 or 6 inches narrower, and then about just short of a foot shorter. It's an 11-foot room. This is 9 by 12. But the new room is going to be 8.5 feet by 11. So, yeah, tiny bit smaller, but, it's going to be a good room, I think. And the cool thing is that once the house is settled and everything, we have to allow some time for the whole building to eventually reach its equilibrium and get used to having people in it and that kind of thing. Once that is done, then I can go to town and actually properly acoustically treat the room. At the moment, I have foam panels up on the walls, which are not really stuck to the walls because this is a rented apartment, so we can't do that. So at the moment, I have them basically glued to big pieces of card from cardboard boxes, and then I've just pinned those pieces of card to the wall with a single pin. And that way we're not going to damage the walls or anything like that with, when we have to remove them. They'll literally just come down. And it'll be dead easy. So I'll probably have to put these up again for at least the first few months of us being in the new house. And then my plan is to get a room kit from GIK Acoustics or somewhere like that. And put up some proper... good sized broadband acoustic panels. That would be awesome, as well as some proper bass traps. I do have bass traps in here. You can't see them; they're kind of over there. But yeah, it'd be good to have something much more robust in this room for acoustic treatment. At the moment, these do okay. They tame some of the high end. They deal with some of the mid range, but not all of it. And actually the bass traps are actually surprisingly good considering they're cheap. I thought that they wouldn't do that much, but actually they do. They do a reasonably good job. So, new room, temporary acoustic treatment, and then probably 6 to 9 months down the road, I'll be able to get the proper acoustic treatment that I have wanted for a long time. But you know what? The thing to remember is that when you're in a room like we are and you're in a rented accommodation, you can't damage the walls. You can't, actually stick things to the walls. You have to improvise. And, you know, there are going to be people out there that are going to tell you, hey, you know, those acoustic foam panels, they do nothing. It's a waste of money. There's no point in them whatsoever. You're being lied to, you know, and all of that kind of stuff. Well, they do something. They do tame some frequencies. That's what I will tell you. You know, people that dismiss them out of hand are not telling you the truth. They do tame some of the frequencies. Now, as it happens in a room like this one, the biggest issue I had was with actually upper mids, not the kind of, you know, low mids that most rooms have. Actually, the bass trapping took care of a lot of the lows and low mid issues in this room. But these really cheap and nasty little pieces of foam, they actually are taming some of those upper mid frequencies that are actually probably the biggest issue in this particular room. And that works. That works for me. But I've also, because I've been in here for 3 years, I've been able to get used to what this room sounds like. And that's the first thing. And I know I kind of didn't really start with a particular topic in mind, but because I've been thinking about the fact that we're moving, and I've been thinking about the fact I'm going to have to learn a different room, that got me thinking about all the kind of things that we're taught about what acoustic treatment does and doesn't do, and what to get, and, you know, all the mythology that there is around it. Because there are some people that say you shouldn't acoustically treat your room at all. You just should do nothing. You should just learn what the room sounds like, and learn what your speakers sound like in that room, and learn what good music sounds like in that room on those speakers. There's a tiny itty bitty truth about that. The methodology is correct. However, parallel surfaces are going to create all sorts of issues. You're going to have standing waves. You're going to have, you know, frequencies cancelling each other out. And you'll find that there are points in the room where there is just no low end whatsoever, because it's being cancelled out. You don't want those kind of things going on, because then the room is lying to you about what's coming out of the speakers. So you do need to treat your room. And I would advocate and I would advise that you do if you are able to. If you can't, if it's just something you are not allowed to do because of the circumstances of your living accommodation, then the next best thing, a good pair of mixing headphones. Open back or semi-open back. These are the Presonus HD7s. These are semi-open back, which means you can kind of use them for tracking as, you know, recording, as well as for mixing. And these are great. They have a really good flat frequency response. They do a great job. There are other brands you could try as well. You know, there's it depends what your budget is, really. The Sennheiser HD Pro 250s, I think, do a really good job, and they're reasonably priced. But yes, if you are unable to acoustically treat your room, mix on headphones. And that's going to open up another can of worms, because there are going to be people that will say, never mix on headphones. And my response to that would be, never say never. Because sometimes you have to mix in the home studio environment. We have to work with what we have. And there are going to be some things that you just can't get past. You're going to have to learn to live with. And you're going to have to make use of things like reference tracks when you're mixing. And you're going to have to learn your environment, or get around your environment by using a good pair of mixing headphones that have a flat frequency response that you can learn and you can trust what they're like. And then you're going to have to have some kind of quality control system where you check your mixes on a variety of different sources and see how well they translate, and keep tweaking your mix until you get good translation. And then you know you're good to go. So yeah, I have been thinking a lot about what the foam panels that I have. I mean, you can see one of them kind of just about over there. But there are many more panels that are out of shot that you can't see, and they're definitely doing something. They are taming, for the most part, the upper mids and some of the highs that are an issue in this room. But like I said, I've been in this room for 3 years. The very first thing I did when I set my studio up in here was I put on good music coming out of my speakers with my acoustic treatment in place. And so I quickly learned what good music, good mixes sounds like in this room. And I used, certainly for the first few months of being in this room, I'd say maybe the first 6 to 9 months in this room, I used reference tracks on every mix that I did. Basically to help me learn what this room sounds like and help me to kind of get used to it, get used to the issues that it has, and get used to the good things that it has as well, because every room is going to sound different. I'm sure my next room, which will be probably the last room for a very long time, will have its own set of problems, and I'm going to have to work out how to deal with those the best I can. And that's how we work in the home studio environment. We're not blessed with the opportunity to have a properly acoustically designed room. Most of us don't have the money for that. If you have the money for that, go ahead, do it. Build a room within a room. Build that perfect floating room that has no parallel surfaces, and build the acoustic treatment into the walls. That would be the best thing to do. That's the ideal thing to do. And then make sure that your left and right hand sides don't ever face each other. That way you don't get the kind of first reflection issues. Maybe you'll need to do some diffusion at the back to break up the this way kind of reflections. I've not done that in this room. And I imagine if I did, I would maybe get some of the low mids a bit more under control as well. So that would be another thing that I will be doing in the new room, is I'll be getting some diffuser panels to go at the back, which I have never had in any of the home studio rooms that I have been in since I first had a home studio, which was way back in 1999. So I've been in the home studio game for a very long time, and I've learned what works and what doesn't work in that time. And I've also learned how to improvise and get round the different problems that a different room is going to present. So there we go. That is my rant for tonight. There may be a different subject for next week, but I can't guarantee it because we're kind of in the midst of moving. So kind of a lot of things to do with rooms and to do with learning rooms is kind of what is going around in my head at the moment. So I'm sure you can appreciate that. But yeah, there you go. So now I will get to your questions and I will have a look at your comments. And I will also see who was in the door first. I'm pretty sure it was Thomas in the Philippines, and I'm correct. He was here a whole hour ahead of schedule. So well done to you, Thomas. And we have Marcos here over in Brazil. Just Bob, one of my faithful moderators, is here. Music to Motion, Kyle Druziak, Pop Studios, howdy from Hailstorm Deluge, Florida. Wow, hailstorms are epic. The ones I have seen in the United States have truly blown my mind, because your hailstones, can be massive. They can be golf ball sized, or they can be, kind of this size. And yeah, those are pretty amazing, pretty scary as well. I would not want to be hit by one of those, for sure. Let's see. Kevin's Guitar Stories is here. DJ Vivaldi is here. Vivaldi is one of my favorite composers, by the way, DJ. Let's see. Who else do we have? I think that might be it in terms of who's actually in the chat. Now, I'm aware we're probably going to have a smaller audience. Ronald Figuri is here. Awesome. Good to see you. I'm aware we're going to have a smaller audience because it is Memorial Weekend. And some of you will be hanging out with family, probably because you've not been able to hang out with family for 15 months, and this is probably your best opportunity to do it. So I have no issues with that at all. Starlight G Recording is here. That would be my good friend Gerard down in Australia. Good to see you, my friend. Glad you're here. Just Bob has a question, which I'm going to get to in just a moment. Ken is here. Ken Moss. He was at the UK Studio meetup, and we had an absolute blast. It was awesome. Lowen says, doesn't seem like it's been 3 years in that room. Yeah, I know. Tell me about it. The 3 years have gone so fast. And so much has happened in those 3 years. Let's see. Let me go back up to that question. Whose question was it? I can't have gone past the question. Surely not. Oh, here it is. Found it. Just Bob says, when it comes to mixing with a subwoofer, is it better to a ported sub or fully enclosed speaker cabinet? That's a great question. There are some really good subs on the market. The one that Presonus makes is the Tembler T10, and that has just recently won a bunch of awards. And it's really, really good. I don't have a subwoofer. Did I say subwoofer? I meant subwoofer. I don't have one. And I'll let you into a little secret. I never have. I never have had one. And I'll tell you why. Because most of the time, I have never been in a room that has been big enough to need one. Most of the time, I have been in rooms that have been at the smallest 9 by 6.5 feet, which was the room before this one. So that was super small, only 9 feet long, going back that way, and 6.5 feet wide. So pretty darn small. I could reach out from my mixed position and touch the walls on either side. Can't do that in this room, but certainly in that one I could. And the RSE5s, which are the speakers that I have had for a very long time now, for about 6 or 7 years, they are front ported, so the bass on the speakers is coming out of the front of the speakers. In a room of that kind of size, you don't need a sub. A sub is just going to fill your space with low end. You have to remember that low frequencies have a much longer wavelength and a much longer decay time, which means by the time it leaves your speaker and heads that way down towards the back of your room, if your room is less than 16 or 17 feet long, that low frequency tone coming from your speakers is going to hit that wall and bounce back. Unless you've got bass traps at the back of your room or low frequency diffusers at the back of your room that can break up all of that low end and scatter it around. If you have those kind of things, then great. Have a sub in your room. But if you don't have those kind of things that I've just talked about, then I would definitely recommend you don't have a sub, because that low frequency sound is going to hit the wall and come back in and cause some low end frequency cancellation. And when that happens, most people jack up the low end in their mixes because they think, I can't hear any low end. So they crank it up, they crank it up, they crank it up. And then they take the mix out to their car and all they can hear is the bass. All they can hear is the low end of the mix. It's completely dominating and overwhelming everything else in the mix. It's totally out of balance. The reason for that is because, again, your room is lying to you about what's coming out of your speakers. You're getting some low frequency cancellation. And that means your mix has way too much low end when you take it out to the car, because your room appears to have no low end. So check your low end on headphones is a good thing to do. That's what I do. personally. But even in a room this size, which is 12 by 9, I still don't have a sub. Now, if my room was 17 or 18 or even 20 feet going back that way, I wish. Wouldn't that be awesome? Then maybe I would have a sub. Because I would have a bigger expanse, a bigger space, and therefore there's more room for those kind of frequencies to breathe. And, by the time they get to the back wall, they're going to be largely decayed, and, they're not going to come back into the room quite so much. So, I'm not against subs. I just think in most people's rooms, you don't need one. Bob Studio says your mic is picking up a low 4 hertz pop when you get too close. Yeah, it's probably proximity effect because I'm sometimes getting a little bit over the top of the mic. I do have a pop filter on here though. But yeah. Ken says late because we took my son out for dinner for his birthday. Happy birthday to your son, Ken. Hope he has a fantastic day. Gerard says maybe someday I'll own a house, and if I do, I would use bass traps in my house. Yes, absolutely. Music to Motion is agreeing with Bob Studios. In USA, I sent 2 texts and it's from the United States. Oh, okay, sorry. I thought you were in Australia. I apologize. I was talking about rented houses and putting bass traps. Yes. In a rented house, you can certainly acoustically treat the room that you're in, but you're going to have to be really, really careful and a little bit creative about how you do it. Because the last thing you want to do is damage the walls and damage the paintwork that's there, because otherwise you're going to have to do the paint job on behalf of your landlord. Now, if you're happy to do that, then fine. But again, you're going to have to check with your landlord first about what they will allow you to do. They might not say, they might say to you, no, sorry, we can't allow you to stick things to the walls with glue, or, drill holes into the wall to kind of hang the frames for some of the more expensive acoustic treatment. So you have to think about those kind of things, what your landlord is going to allow you to do, and then you're going to have to creatively work around those things. And it is just what it is. You don't own the properties, so it's kind of not up to you, unfortunately. And, I've been in rented accommodation for most of my life. I'm now in a privileged and unique and blessed position to be able to buy a house. And that means, hooray, we will own the room. And I can do whatever I want with that room. I can slap as much glue up on the wall and stick stuff to the wall if I want to. I won't. I don't think I'll do that. I think what I would do is maybe get one of those acoustic treatment packs where you actually, you have a frame. They sit in a frame and you basically drill holes and you put brackets in the wall and then you hang the thing like a picture frame. I think that's probably what I will do in the new room after, everything is settled down, because it is a brand new build house. We're going to have to wait for that to happen, because the walls will move a little bit, and I don't want to put acoustic treatment up and then find that the wall is cracked, and then I'm going to have to take that off, fill the crack, paint it back over, and then put the acoustic treatment back up again. So, yeah, there's that. Let's see. My Kevin says my new studio is going to be 13 foot by 32 by 10. Do you think I'll need a sub? You probably shouldn't. If that is 32 feet long, 13 feet wide. Yeah, actually, yeah. If it's 32 feet long, then yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. I mean, what I would suggest is, try the speakers first. And if if when you stand at the back of the room, there's just no low end because it just hasn't got there, then yeah, maybe a sub would help. But really, in my opinion, a sub should only supplement your speakers. It shouldn't really just be the thing that just does the low end. That's just my personal opinion. Other opinions will vary. Go and check out some other people and see what they have to say and kind of, arrive at your own conclusion. But my personal opinion is a sub really should only enhance what is already coming out of your speakers, and supplement it. Basically, just allow the bass to come up to a natural and balanced level within your room, rather than, completely just taking over the low end. But yeah, that would be my view. Somewhere else studio says, "Hi Johnny, shouldn't you be packing?" We've actually been packing all day. So, and it's actually midnight here in Edinburgh. So packing is done for the day. Just Bob says you can use toothpaste to fill the thumbtack and picture frame nail holes. It acts like mud for drywall. Smooth out after drying. Good to go. Yep, absolutely. That's what we will do. But I wanted to, leave as little damage as possible, which is why I went for the thumbtack approach and just basically have like one thumbtack for each set of 6 square panels, basically. And that's what we've done. And it worked out pretty well. So, as soon as we take these down, a little bit of toothpaste, let it dry, smooth it over, job done. Absolutely right. That's exactly what we'll do. It was my wife that actually said, "Hey, you should definitely do that when we move." So yeah, that's sound advice. Somewhere else studio says it doesn't have to be trial and error, it's mathematics. I'm believing that small rooms don't need absorption. Yeah, small rooms actually need acoustic treatment. They just do. Because a small room, trying to contain and balance out all of the frequencies coming out of your speakers is going to be a challenge in a small room. And if you've got a big room, there's more room for the audio to breathe. There's more room for it to move around in the room. Which is why, large control rooms in, commercial studios tend to be pretty big. So there's plenty of room for all of that sound to breathe and move about. And yeah, there's, they have diffusers, they have big, thick, bass traps and things like that. But yeah, in a small room, you do need acoustic treatment because frequencies will bounce around out of your speakers, especially if you've got parallel surfaces, like 2 walls facing each other. It's going to happen because, this speaker here is going to, the sound is going to come out of there and it's going to hit this wall here and then it's going to bounce right back. So I'm going to get a mixture of what's coming directly to my ear and what's being reflected, and they're going to be ever so slightly out of phase with each other, and you'll get some phase cancellation, and you'll get standing waves, you'll get cone filtering, you'll get all of those kind of things, which you don't want, because it will totally wreck your mixes, for sure. Bob Studio says, toothpaste. Yes, toothpaste does exactly what Just Bob says it does. It really does. I rent a whole house, says Gerard, and it's big and nice. Your show is good today, and you use the RS5s, and I have Scepter 8s as well. Yes, the Scepter 8s are really good. They are a little beefy for the room that I have here, but, and I did think, they're actually, I could have had a set of Scepter 8s in the old house, and I thought, no, they're too beefy for that room. Because, they're bigger. They're going to have a lot more power, a lot more drive to them. And so I said, no, don't send me the Scepters, send me the RS5s, which is what they did. And I've had them ever since. Now in a room like this, a little bit bigger, 12 by 9 instead of 9 by 6.5. Yes, I probably could have the 8-inch Scepters, but you know what? I love the sound of the 5s, the RSC 5s, and they're I'm used to them. I know what they sound like. They're great. I have no complaints about them, so I don't think I'm ever going to change them. Bob Studio says if you clap in an empty room, you can hear the frequencies. If you sing in them, you can move around to hear what is reverbing back. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yep, and you'll hear the resonant frequencies. Yeah, I mean, certainly in this room, I know this room's most powerful resonant frequency is A flat. This room is pretty much in A flat. My last room was in G. So we'll have to wait and see what the next room is going to be in. That's going to be interesting. But yeah, resonant frequencies will occur, I think, in pretty much any room. There is a way to get rid of them using, particular acoustic treatment and a bit of diffusion and broadband trapping. So not just bass trapping, but broadband trapping as well. But yeah, that's really good stuff, though. A non-compliant room. I'm not sure what on earth a non-compliant room is. If you have no parallel surfaces, then I suppose you don't really have a problem. That's very good. That's a very good joke. You can tune your room, but can you tune a fish? Yes. Absolutely. All right. Anyone got any other questions? We have a small crowd tonight, so it's probably going to be a shorter show because tune the room with your ears. Yes, that's what acoustic treatment helps you achieve. It helps you to tune that room. It helps you, there's various things you can do. The most important thing you can do when treating your room is to treat the first reflection points. And you can find those by, you sit in your mixed position, you have somebody, pass a mirror along the wall at roughly the height that your ears are and the speakers are. And then when you can see the speaker cone in the mirror, you know that that's a reflection point. That's where you need to put some acoustic treatment. And then you do the same on the other side. And when you see the speaker reflected in the mirror, you know that that's a reflection point. That's where acoustic treatment needs to go, because that's the point that the audio is going to hit the wall first. So you treat there first. And then there are secondary reflection points a little bit further along. You can find those using the same kind of mirror trick. And then, of course, the other thing, and a lot of people forget this, I mean, I wasn't able to do that in this particular room, but a lot of people forget that sound also travels this way and is going to reflect back. So it's a good idea to treat the back of your room as well. Put some panels up at the back. And some diffusion as well. Definitely helps at the back of the room to break up and scatter the audio around. Will definitely work. Certainly one of the things I found by doing some clapping in the room, I was able to find where kind of some flutter echo was coming from, and as soon as I identified where that was, I just put a panel up there and it was gone. The flutter echo disappeared straight away as soon as I put a panel up. So yeah. And also playing good music. Play good music in your room. Play really good mixes in your room. It doesn't have to be a particular genre you like, but you just know that the mix is really, really well balanced and sounds fantastic. Play that on the speakers that you are going to be mixing on and listen to them in your listening position where you're going to be mixing. And then, you know, that'll help you tighten up your room as well. You can go, okay, low end's a little bit out of whack. I need some more bass trapping. Or, you know, stand at the back of your room and go, oh, there's absolutely no low end here at all. You know, or maybe at the back of the room, that's where all the low end is. In which case you can bass trap at the back of the room and resolve that issue. So yeah. Somewhere Else Studio says you can sort of tune the room with your ears, but understanding room modes and the mathematics associated with that science, and that maths can show you where the problems are even before you play a note. Most people haven't trained their ears to hear room problems, so merely playing audio and listening is not a good plan for most. Yes, I absolutely 100% agree with that. Acoustics is a science. It's based on the laws of physics. And so you can use physics, you can use reflection, you can use the amplitudes and wavelengths of frequencies to discern where you need to acoustically treat your room. Now, there are websites that will let you do this. I think Auralex have a tool, I think, on their website where you plug into that tool the dimensions of your room and where your speakers are, and then it calculates where you need to put your acoustic treatment, and it does that using maths. So, you know, it is a science. Absolutely, it is a science. I did the acoustic treatment for the church that I'm a member of when we bought a new building about 10 or so years, 12 years ago. And it was a big old building, really huge old building, but had lots of parallel surfaces. And we knew that, you know, low mids and low end were going to quickly get out of control in that room. So we did the acoustic science required in order to discern where we needed to put acoustic treatment, broadband acoustic treatment panels and bass traps to tame that room. And we did. We got the low end completely under control in that room, and we got the low mids completely under control in that room by working out mathematically where the panels needed to go, how thick the panels needed to be, and what type of panels we needed. We also put some, you know, those mushroom cloud things in the ceiling as well. And that really helped with just reducing some of the reverberation in the room. And it got that room totally under control. So, you know, there's very few issues with feedback and those kind of things in that room. So it is definitely a science. Ken says, I bought corner foam bass traps in 2-foot lengths, but I have a corner desk. So how would you deal with the desk and back leg being so close to the wall and still put traps from floor to ceiling? Ken, that's a good question. The first thing I would suggest there is never set up your mixing position in the corner of a room. The reason being is that is where your bass is going to build up. So it's never a good idea to set up in the corner. You need to take advantage of the symmetry of your room. And the best thing to do by doing that is set yourself up like I have here on the short wall of your room. So this is 12 by 9, so it's 9 feet wide, 12 feet long. So I'm set up on the 9-foot wall here. And I took measurements and made sure that my desk and my speakers were equally away from each of the walls. So equally away from the wall that's behind here that you can't see, and also the side walls. So I made sure that my speakers were exactly the same distance away from every surface, and made sure that I was exactly center. The reason why I do that, if I have my left speaker too close to a corner compared to my right speaker, or too close to a wall, then I'm going to have a sound coming out of my speakers that is going to be out of balance because of reflections. And because one speaker is going to be much nearer a corner, and therefore there is going to be more bass build up on one side than there is on the other. So I rarely have rules when it comes to music, when it comes to mixing. So I don't have a list of things that I would say that come under the heading of never. But this is one. Never set up in the corner of a room, because you're asking for bass problems galore. So bring your stuff out, if it is at all possible, Ken, to bring your stuff out and set up in the center of your short wall and have your speakers firing down the longest wall, like I have here. And your mixes will thank you, and you will thank the positioning of your speakers. Because it will make mixing a heck of a lot easier for you, because you will not have to play that game where you're going, okay, I can't hear the low end, I jack up the low end, I take my mix out to the car, there's too much low end, I bring it back, I turn the bass down, and now suddenly it sounds like my mix sounds like it's playing through a tin of tomatoes. So I go back to the car, okay, now it sounds nice and fulsome, but in the studio it sounds tinny. That's what happens when you're set up in that corner where all the bass is building up, because to you, there's loads of low end. In your studio room where you're sat, there's plenty of bass, but when you take it out to the car, it's all jacked. So, you know, that's why you don't want to set up in a corner. Tim Talks is here, and we're very glad he has. Ronald has a question. Let's go find his question. The 60 minutes passed. Did I miss it? Let's scroll back. See if I can find it. Will show mode switch in brackets send program change messages, patches on my external synths without actually having to start playing a song in Studio One? There is a way to set it up so that it does that. It's a little convoluted. It's a little complicated. Basically, you have to set up patches, but you have to set up program change messaging so you can send. So you have to set up your keyboard as a control. I think you have to set up as a control surface. I think, as well as an instrument. You set it up as an instrument as well as a keyboard, and you're using the instrument side of it to send the program change messages, and the keyboard just to kind of as a player, basically. I think that's what you have to do. I will have to talk to my good friend and my colleague Gregor a little bit more about that setup and see if he'll actually make a video on how to set that up in the show page. Because, I mean, he's a guy that does work with external synths a lot, whereas I don't really. I just have a MIDI controller, and I have this beautiful guy here, which is just set up as an audio input. It's not really set up as anything else. But yeah, you can change patches. If you're triggering in, like, if you're using your keyboard just to trigger something like presence or contact or something like that, that's easy to set up. You just create the patches, basically, and then when you go from one song to the next, it changes the patches automatically. But if you're talking about external program changes on an external keyboard, that's a little bit more of a challenge to figure out, because you have to create a separate instrument to do that. So yes, I hope that answers that question. It's a little tricky, and there is a bit of a method to it. But like I said, I'll talk to Gregor and see if he'll come up with a video that will deal with that for you. You guys are talking about multiband, or at least somebody is. Does Studio One have a multiband compressor like FabFilter? In the professional version, yes, there is a plugin called Multiband Dynamics. But it only exists in the professional version, not in Artist or Prime. But yes, you'll find it. I can show you. I can show you where to find that. So I have all the FabFilter stuff already. But if I kind of scroll down here, and we'll get into the persona stuff. I have these listed alphabetically. There it is, multiband dynamics. So if I stick this over here, here it is, and it's just a basic multiband compressor with lows, low mids, mids, high mids, and highs. So yeah, it's actually much improved since version 4. If you're not using Studio One 5, you're not going to see it look like this. But yes, it is much improved. They've worked really hard on improving the GUI for this plugin, and making it much easier to actually navigate, much easier to use. And there's some pretty good presets as well. There's some mastering presets. There's some mixing ones here as well. And then there's denoise. There's Dolby. There's a peak catcher and a peak tamer. So yeah, plenty of fun things there. So I hope that helps. Mike Neighbors in here, checking in real quick. Thank you. And as Mika says, you can use any compressor as a multiband compressor by using the splitter. Yes, you can absolutely do that. You can have 5 compressors in a line in splitter and have each one dedicated to a specific frequency. Is it in Studio One 4.6? Yes, it is. In the professional version, it's always been in Studio One in the professional version since version 1. But as I said, it looks a bit different in Studio One 4 than it does in Studio One 5. Bell curves, Q settings. Yeah, it has all of those. But yes, it has been updated and improved. Yes, we were. That's Mike. Yes, we were talking about room acoustics. That's kind of where I started the show tonight, because I'm already starting to think about moving into our new house and what the room is going to be like. And the fact that we own the house means that I can do a lot more acoustic treatment wise than what I've done in here. And that's kind of where I kind of got started. So, yep, that's where we started. For those that are in my Facebook group, I'll post a link there for Zoom. If not in the group, search me or ask a friend. Yes, Music Motion does a very cool Zoom call after most of our shows, actually, which is cool. Any other questions? Mika says the latest Catalina security patch has caused some kernel panic in my Intel Macs with Studio One. That's interesting to note. Because as far as I'm aware, kernel panics are caused by hardware or system files. They're not caused by software. So you may want to check out your Catalina system files and check there. You could also check your RAM sticks and make sure they are seated correctly. Maybe one of them's gone bad. Does happen from time to time. And if that's the case, I mean, you probably know exactly what tests to perform to check your RAM sticks. And you can also, you know, even if you're doing, you know, system checks and you're checking the RAM sticks, they may well check out fine. And you go, oh, there's no problem with these then. Well, one of the things you can do is actually physically take the sticks out and then put them back in one at a time and test and see if the kernel panics happen with each stick. And then once you've, you know, as you're going through that process, you're probably going to find which stick is the one that's got that has the issue. If it's not occurring on stick 2 or, you know, stick 1 or stick 2, and then maybe it happens with stick 3, well, then you know, hey, stick 3 has got a fault in it somewhere. Or maybe it's just dusty, or maybe, you know, it's just not being seated correctly, and you can just take it out, put it back in. Most of the time that we've seen kernel panics, we've said to people, take out your RAM sticks, put them back in one at a time, and see if you can identify which one is causing the issue. And usually they come back to us and saying, yeah, one of my RAM sticks was bad, or actually just the process of taking them out and putting them back in resolved the issue. No more kernel panics. But that said, Macs are now on Big Sur 11.4, I believe. That's what my Mac has just gone up to. So that's on Big Sur 11.4 now, and Studio One is working perfectly on Big Sur 11.4. No problems whatsoever. I have 2 sticks of 4 gigs of RAM in the Mac over there. It's working perfectly. No problems with it whatsoever. So, yeah, I would definitely like to suggest that to you. Mika says, Mac support most likely causes faulty software. Yeah, they're bound to say that. Kernel panic can also be caused by damaged or incompatible hardware, including external devices attached to your Mac. That is also true. That is probably more true than what they're saying about quote-unquote faulty software. Who is this? Triziclo. I think that's who you are. Can you show how to add a new verse spot using the arranger track, please? I use Scratchpad to arrange the song in a different way, but it screwed up the track sync. Okay. Arranger track's really, really easy. And I can show you with this particular song, actually. So let's go over to this particular song. I'm just going to play just a little bit of it to you. Now, as you can see, I don't have the arranger track open. That's fine. We can fix that just like that. So now we've got the arranger track open. I'm going to get my pencil and I'm going to draw one in there like that. I'm going to go back over to this tool, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go right click and I'm going to go D, duplicate. I mean, I could just press D if I wanted to. I could just select this and just press D like that. So if we were to say that this was our verse, not our intro. So if I was to right click this and say that's the intro, that's fine. This is going to be our verse, so we right click that, we change that to verse 1, then we hit enter, and we can maybe choose a different color. Why the hell not? There we go. And then let's say we're going to do verse 2 straight after that, but it's going to have mostly the same kind of vibe, mostly the same kind of chord changes. But let's get the mixer out of the way. But let's say what we want to do in the verse is maybe we don't want the piano, but we want it in the chorus. But we want our chorus to be pretty much the same as the intro. That's fine. We can do that again. So I can go copy, and I can stick my cursor over here, and then I can go paste. And then what we can do is we can call, I keep doing that, we can rename this, and we can call this chorus, because we want the chorus in here, and we'll give this a bright garish yellow color. But in the verse, we don't want the piano. So let's take the piano out from there, and maybe we don't want the guitars either. So let's take the guitars out. And this is going to be our verse. And then why is the start? Let's move this. Why is that there? Let's get rid of that. There we go. Okay, so we have intro, we have verse 1, we have chorus. Now, we want to do another verse after the chorus, right? So, what we're going to do is we're going to go, we're going to right click that, we're going to go copy, and we're going to go over there, and we're going to go paste, and then we'll scroll across, and as you can see, it's copied exactly what the verse is going to be. It's given it the same color. And again, we can just right click that. We can just change the text a little bit so it says verse 2. And we can even give that a different color. And so now we have our whole song. Intro, verse, chorus, verse. And that is the quick way to do it. That's the quick way to do the arranger track so that I have exactly what I want for verse, exactly what I want for chorus, exactly what I want for the next verse. And then if I was to do a bridge section that maybe just drops down just to the drums and the bass, I could do that as well if I wanted. Easy enough to do. And I've made all of this using the same source material without actually having to record anything else, which is handy because something like this in this kind of reggae style is one drop reggae like this, which is what this is, has a lot of repetition, and the way you make the song interesting is by the arrangement, by adding bits in here, taking them away there, bringing in a little bit of guitar solo here, a little bit of trumpet solo here, whatever. But that's kind of how you do it with a style like reggae. It's all to do with the ear candy of the arrangement that makes it work. But you're by and largely using exactly the same rhythm section source material. And then you're just adding a bit of spice here, a bit of spice there. And that's kind of how that works. And using the arranger track makes this an absolute doddle. It's so simple and it is so easy to do. I mean, all I had was this little 4-bar loop, and out of that, I now have a 16-bar song because I have duplicated where I've needed to. So I hope that solves that little issue for you. Makes it a heck of a lot faster. I mean, as you can see, I did that in about 40 seconds. I mean, if I wasn't actually teaching this particular method, I would be using the keyboard shortcuts. And as you can see there, duplicate is D, copy is Control C, paste is Control V. And I would just be like, click, key command, click, key command, click, key command, delete, 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 whatever I needed to do. And it's just super fast. And I can build out my arrangement in a matter of a couple of minutes. And then if I need to record a little bit of extra ear candy, I can do that. It is as easy as that. So I hope that helps. Bob Studios says, Macs are kind of like owning a yacht. Sail well, but a lot of cost when in the ocean. That's an interesting and amusing analogy. Let's see. Mika says it started right after the security update. Seems to be happening with a certain plugin brand that begins with W. Yes, I'm very familiar with that particular brand of plugin. That brand of plugin that I no longer use. I got rid of them all. And deleted my Waves account. There, I even mentioned them by name. But yeah, I deleted my account with them. I whacked the Mac PC on its nest. Maybe you did a little bit. Maybe you did a little bit of triggering. But yes, I am. For many years, I was PC only. And now I kind of switch hit. I work on a Mac and I work on a PC. And yes, the two are very different. They have different strengths. They have different weaknesses. Providing you know what those strengths and weaknesses are, and you're prepared to work within those limitations or within those strengths, you'll do fine working on either. I thought, Macs were just clumsy and cumbersome. The actual operating system. I always thought it's just clunky, cumbersome, a bit archaic. Even with Big Sur 11.4, I'm kind of looking at the release notes for the new features that are added. I'm just like, yeah, but it's still clunky and cumbersome. But providing I am happy to work within that particular limitation, then we're good. Because the plus point of a Mac is that everything is built in. Everything is in-house. So, whereas with a PC is an assemblage of a lot of components made by a lot of different manufacturers. And particularly with an audio PC, if you're buying an off-the-shelf PC, you can quickly encounter problems, particularly if you just buy it from Best Buy or somewhere like that. You're going to get a whole bunch of components, and you're going to have to check how compatible those are going to be with your audio gear and with your software. However, there are good companies out there who will build you a pro audio PC, because that's what they specialize in doing, and they know what components are going to work best together and what components are going to work best with your DAW and with the rest of your audio gear. I went down that route in 2007, and I have never looked back. I use the same company every time I need a new PC. I'm now on my third PC with them. And it's been brilliant. I have had next to no problems with any of the machines that I have had with them, other than they've just got a little old, and the hardware components are maybe no more compatible with an OS 5 years down the line, 6 years down the line. It's great. My last PC was a Windows 7 machine. The components on there were not compatible with Windows 10, so I had to get a new PC. But you know what? It wasn't a bad thing, because between the day that I bought that Windows 7 PC to the day that I bought this new machine, a lot had changed. A lot of improvements have been made. And, things like RAM is certainly a lot cheaper than it was back when I got that first computer. But this one, is twice as powerful, twice as fast, has twice the RAM in it. It's great. And I have no problems with it at all. And the company are really good. They build the computer and deliver it very quickly. But they go through very, very, very rigorous stress testing to make sure that everything works properly before they deliver it to you. And then you have like 2 or 3 years of warranty, so if anything breaks on it, it's not going to cost me a penny. So it's great. And I will keep using them as a company because they have been really good and their support is fantastic. Mika says, I really don't care which computer I use. It just happens that the ubiquitous tool for professional studios is a Mac-based platform. If it had been PCs that had done that, I'd be there. I hear you. I hear what you say about a lot of professional studios using Macs. But there are also some professional studios, because I've worked in a few, that are PCs. There's a couple of big name studios in London that I used to work in pretty regularly as a session player. And there was one studio that I worked in where I was an assistant engineer. I was just kind of learning the trade, and they were PC. So, Mac or PC, doesn't really matter. Just learn the strengths and weaknesses of both and kind of find your way through that. And don't complain. Alps is here. Alps Media, the sponsor of Home Studio Trainer. He says, very late to the game. Yes, you are. And we're actually running over a little bit tonight because I don't mind. I'm not working tomorrow, so I don't mind running over a little bit. Mika says, let me also say that I'm very thankful PreSonus has ported their software for both PC and Mac. Kudos to all developers who do. Absolutely. It's a shame that Logic, when Logic was purchased by Apple, that was the end of their days on PC. Real shame. Because there was a period, I mean, I used Cubase for almost 30 years. But there was a period towards the end of my time with Cubase, towards the end, where I flirted with Logic before it was purchased by Apple. And I was just like, that's a shame. I'm going to have to go back to Cubase. I really don't want to, but that's what I'm going to have to do. And it was quite a while before you could get Pro Tools to run well on a PC. That did take quite a while. One of my friends, a guy called Robin Vincent, was involved in building out the very first Pro Tools PCs that were specially designed to work with Pro Tools. But, you know, it is what it is. And I think that's probably part of where the whole Mac dominating the commercial studios enterprise has come from, is because Pro Tools is apparently, quote unquote, the industry standard and has been for a while. And it's maybe because of that and because it never really for a long time worked on PC at all very well, that those studios have Macs. Probably that's why, I would think. When Sonar died, it hit me hard. Yeah, you know what? I know a lot of people that were in that boat. And a lot of them have come over to Studio One and never looked back. But yes, Gerard is absolutely spot on. Doesn't matter what computer you use, as long as it works great for your song and for your mix, and it's reliable and you can trust it. Whether it's a Mac or a PC, if you can rely on it, you can trust it, you can depend upon it to get the job done. Who cares what it is? I don't. Yeah, I understand what you mean by ubiquitous, Mika. Absolutely. Alrighty, so let's see. Where are we? We are at 20 people. We've still got 20 people here. Wow, this is great. I didn't think we'd have this many. But can I just say, if you're new to Sunday Night Live, or you're new to my channel, and this is your first time watching my show, then please do hit the like and subscribe buttons down there somewhere. Please also, my website is down the bottom of the screen there. Please do go pay a visit, and when you do, there's a nice red button at the top of the screen that says get my free course now. If you click on that, you'll be taken through a process to get my it's not so brand new anymore, but my new-ish free compression course, and by doing so you'll also become a member of Jonny Lipsham Studios, which would be very, very cool. So yeah, hit the like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you select all notifications. If you're on mobile and you're watching that way, then there's only one option. You just select all notifications. That's the only option that there is there. So yeah, please do all those three. It'd be awesome if you did. I would appreciate it a lot. And also, if you've not said hi in the chat yet, then please do. It would be great to be able to identify you and call you out by name as well. That would be cool. So please do that. It would help me out a great deal. We have 21 people here and we have 17 likes, which is very cool. I like that. Bob Studio says, I try to get friends to watch. I know, and I appreciate it very greatly. You do share the link to my show, which is great. Thank you very much for doing that. And likewise, if anybody also knows other people who might benefit from this show, or, you think, hey, this show would be great for them because they can ask their Studio One questions or their musicology questions or music theory questions or any songwriting questions, stuff like that. If they have those kind of questions, then say, hey, come and check out Sunday Night Live with Jonny Lipsham, and you can ask a question there, and hopefully he will be able to provide some kind of an answer. Who knows? Hopefully I would give you the right one. Mika says, if Personas got on the M1 fast, they would be the toast of the town. Just saying. Yeah, well, go see the compatibility statement on the knowledge base, and you'll see kind of where we're at with that. So yeah, go and check out that article, because that article, we do update it pretty regularly as soon as we've moved forward with our testing with the M1s. We post where we're at and what works, that's what we do. We post it on that knowledge base article. So if you go to the knowledge base and you go to general, and then there's an M1 compatibility article there, go click on that and you'll see that it was updated, I think, just about 3 weeks ago. I think it was 3 weeks ago. I think so. Yeah, go and check that out and you'll see kind of where we are at with the M1s and compatibility with Studio One, and also all of our hardware. So please do check that out and check back to it regularly. Mika says, several of my students watch this show live and or rerun. Well, that's awesome, and I'm gonna address your students. Hello, Mika's students. I'm glad you're watching, whether you're watching live or on the rerun. I appreciate it a lot. Thank you, Mika, for promoting my show and my channel to your students. If you are a student of Mika's and you are watching live, then please do say so in the chat and say hello. I would like to get acquainted with you. Would I have the link to the knowledge base article? I can get it. Not difficult to get hold of. Knowledge base, general, Apple Silicon M1 computer compatibility. Copy the link, paste it there. There you go. There's the link to the Mac M1 compatibility statement on the Personas website. Oh, other thing I should mention whilst I'm actually looking at personas.com, and I'm looking specifically at support.personas.com. One thing to note is that the Personas headquarters office is closed tomorrow for Memorial Day, and so is Personas support for hardware. Software support will still be available, but just to let you know, they are going to be short-handed because only one person doesn't get to celebrate Memorial Day because it doesn't apply to them, and so they will be working. So be patient, please, because he's going to be all on his own. So if you have a support ticket in over the course of this weekend, you put one in, I would say at the best you'll get an answer to it on Tuesday, I would think. You might get an answer tomorrow, but I would say, be patient, because he is all on his own and he will be handling all of software support on his own. So yeah, be patient with him. And we'll all be back on Tuesday. We'll have a full strength team, and we will definitely take care of you on a Tuesday if you have a support ticket in over the weekend. So please be patient with us, and we'll get to you as soon as we can, because because we're closed on Monday, we're likely to be backlogged at least a little bit. So please allow a little bit of extra time for us to get back to you. We would appreciate that. Trizzy Clo, I think that's what you are. Greetings from California. Thank you for the info. How can we donate to your channel? That's a great question. I'm going to put that link in as well. If you just bear with me for just a second. I have to go find that link. For that. Okay, there you go. You can hit that link, paypal.me/Jonny Lipsham and all of that stuff. That's there. Let me go back to that. Okay, there we go. All right, so yes, if you want to make a donation, I would appreciate it. It'd be very kind if you do. Just hit that PayPal link. This channel is no longer monetized by choice. I was part of the YouTube partner program for about 5 or 6 years. They made some changes to how they handle tax with regard to creators that I didn't agree with, so I withdrew. So this channel is no longer monetized for that reason, and I think I did a show kind of explaining that as well. So you can go back maybe 2 or 3 weeks and you can see that. So yeah, until then, folks, there should be a Songwriting Simplified show on Wednesday. And I think going forward, maybe for the next couple of weeks, I will be hosting it here. But I need to talk to Jonny about kind of that and kind of the future direction of the Songwriting Simplified show. It's not going to go away. We're just maybe going to change up the format a little bit and see if we can kind of improve the quality of that show. So Jonny and I have a little bit of talking to do. So until then, folks, I will see you Wednesday. Good night, everybody. Have a great Memorial Day tomorrow, and I will talk to you soon. Cheers.